My name is Jesse, and I work with small businesses in the government marketplace. You're listening to FedBiz'5, where you get informed, get connected, and get results on everything government contracting. Hello, and welcome to another episode of FedBiz'5. Today, we have with us Cassie Elbany, a senior team lead in the processing department at FedBiz Access, working with some of the most prestigious clients. Cassie, welcome to FedBiz'5.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today. Glad to be here.
Happy to have you. I understand you're going to fill our listeners in on SAM.gov. So let's go ahead and jump right in. What is SAM.gov?
So SAM stands for, and I think a lot of people ask, what is SAM? But they don't exactly know what SAM stands for.
Right.
So I'm going to start with that. It stands for System for Award Management, and it's the official government website used to register entities for government contracts or grants. So when you register, you get a CAGE code, a unique entity ID, and that will showcase your entity within the system. So those two codes and the unique ID are two identifiers in SAM, which if you were to go to the website, you hit the search button, that would be the way to find an entity in SAM, is using a CAGE code or the UEI, how we call it for short.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it. And I'm sure our listeners will as well. My next question, though, that it leads me to, what is SAM.gov used for?
So aside from registering in SAM, registering your entity and getting your CAGE code and UEI, you can also search for contract opportunities right from the home page, and you can search by using keywords or NAICS codes. In addition to that, companies that are looking to work with the federal government, they need a compliant and active registration to be awarded a federal contract. And I think that's not talked about enough. A lot of people think, I'm just going to try and bid on this. Well, you can't. For federal contracts, you actually need your registration to be done, and it has to be done properly, or that could prevent you from getting a contract. And the SAM also has to be renewed yearly and should always be kept up to date so it shows the most current and accurate information. So that could be if you change an email address, or if you change your company's phone number, or maybe you add a different service or product, you always want to make sure you go back into SAM and update it as well.
So that sounds like a pretty important thing to kind of stay on track with.
Absolutely.
I mean, without that, you don't have anything, right?
No, not at all. Yeah. And I don't think that that's said enough because the business, changes.
Right.
It evolves, and your SAM should too.
I mean, for instance, the UEI, that's new. That's changed. We got rid of the DUNS numbers, stuff like that.
Correct.
So thank you again for that. That's fantastic. And a part of your statement there is talking about NAICS codes. What are NAICS codes?
So NAICS codes is the North American Industry Classification System, basically describing what a company does. So they're industry codes. They describe a company's either services or products. You can utilize these NAICS codes in your SAM to showcase what you do. Another use for them is contracting officers during their vetting process enter in a specific NAICS code depending on what they're looking for. And whoever has that NAICS code within the SAM shows up in their search results. And that goes both ways. If you're looking for a potential opportunity, like we said earlier, you can type in a NAICS code in the search bar on SAM.gov, and any NAICS code associated to an opportunity is going to pull up.
Right.
So it's super important to drill down, search through the NAICS census. There is one online to figure out what works for your business, what, products you sell. And NAICS codes can be very broad in the title. So there is descriptions on every NAICS code, and there could be anywhere from 10 to maybe 20, 30 things that fall under one code. So you really have to search, look at the descriptions, and just really drill down your industry, keep it focused, and pop those NAICS codes into SAM so that way they're in there. And you'll be found for an opportunity, or you can go ahead and search for some that are applicable to you.
Right. When you say, there's 10 different subcategories basically over one. So that's good advice right there as well. Just to make sure to really hone in on what specifics and not having too much.
Yeah.
Don't want to be going overboard with your codes and the PSC codes. That's it. But yeah, thank you so much for that information. I know you actually cleared up a couple questions that I had, and I am confident that any questions that our listeners may have had about SAM, you've certainly covered. And thank you so much for coming on and taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Take care. If you guys, need me ever again to answer some questions, I'm glad to come back.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
This concludes this week's episode of FedBiz'5, where you get informed, get connected, and get results. Today's podcast is sponsored by FedBiz Access, government contracting made simple. Visit them at FedBizAccess.com or contact them at 888-299-4498.